leaving a gaping hole in the heart of Los Angeles. We gather tonight in the house that Kobe Bryant built to honor him and them.
ESPN's coverage tonight of the Lakers honoring Kobe Bryant continues next when we send it back to Maria Taylor in L.A. for NBA Countdown. They'll be followed by Mavs versus the Rockets at the bottom of the hour, and then all the ceremonies surrounding the life and legacy of Kobe. And I got to tell you, Sage, it hasn't hit me. I mean, we've been talking about it all week. It hasn't hit me. I think tonight it's going to hit me watching the game and the ceremony.
I agree, and I have to tell you, as excited as everybody here in Miami is for the Super Bowl, right now you should see them watching our coverage of Kobe. It's amazing. The emotions, incredible. NBA Countdown is next.
Welcome to NBA Countdown, presented by Mountain Dew.
It is a city in mourning as they continue to honor Kobe Bryant, Gianna Bryant, and all 9 victims that perished in the helicopter accident on Sunday. 11 message boards have been erected as fans continue to gather at Staples Center to honor Kobe. Meanwhile, the Lakers, they have filled the entire arena with Kobe jerseys, putting 24 and 8 on the court, and an icon, KB, will be on the court and on players' jerseys as their hearts will be heavy playing their first game in Staples Center since the loss of their Lakers icon. Welcome to NBA Countdown. Maria Taylor alongside Stephen A. Smith, Michael Wilbon, Jalen Rose, and Paul Pierce. All of these men have stories and an understanding so deep about Kobe Bryant that it's going to be great to share this moment with you. And Stephen A., we can start with you, because we've continued to see, I mean, the numbers are growing. We continue to hear the chants, and we continue to see the impact that Kobe had on L.A., this city, and this game.
Well, listen, you know, all you got to do is think back. This was a man that won 3 championships with Shaquille O'Neal. And if you remember at the time, there was some friction that was going on between the two. Shaquille O'Neal ultimately gets traded to Miami. The Lakers struggled for a few years. Kobe once sat up there and said, I'd rather play on the planet Pluto. He came on my radio show and said, I'd rather play on the planet Pluto than play for the Los Angeles Lakers. They pull off a trade. They acquire Pau Gasol. The next thing you know, they go to 3 consecutive NBA finals. They win back-to-back titles in 09, 010, of losing to Paul Pierce in Boston. Before that, obviously. The bottom line is that this is a guy that personified everything that Laker Nation wanted their star to be about. He was completely and totally committed to excellence on the basketball court. Championships were their barometer. They didn't care about division titles. They didn't care about just conference titles. It was about the chip. And that's just what they wanted. And obviously off the court, the tireless effort that he put in to maintain a level of excellence spanning a 20-year career. When they think about Kobe Bryant as a Laker, they're so incredibly grateful because there was a standard that he helped establish and reestablish for this franchise that spanned decades, and it kept Lakers lore exactly where Laker fans thought it should be.
I keep talking about that there's a fraternity that you guys as former players share, and there's about 5,000 of them total. How do you describe what's been your reaction, the grieving process that honestly you guys have been going through since Sunday?
You know, it's been really tough, Maria. You know, initially hearing the news and still not believing it, and, you know, talking to old teammates and my fellow players amongst the league and former players is just something that it's hard to grasp right now. And it's just like, I think right now, the guys, we are all using each other to just trying to get through these moments. You have to have a great support group. It's like me and Kevin Garnett talk every day. I mean, people don't know, but Kobe went to him when he first came out of high school because Kevin was the first one to initially do it in the new era.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, they developed a relationship. So, you know, they were like brothers. And he was the first call I got that morning. And, you know, he was crying and couldn't really process it. And so, you know, we talk every day to try to get through these moments. We use each other as blankets. And, you know, I don't know if it'll ever end, but, you know, this is definitely a black mark on the game of basketball, you know, on the other people who were involved in the crash, on life. And it brought realization to life for me. And I'll tell you one thing, it's changed me in a number of ways with relationships I have around the NBA, around family, around friends. And I've lost family members within the last 6 months, but this one was just different. This one was different. You know, I even told my mom I never had a relationship with my father. This prompted me to ask my mom if she can make that happen. And I don't know, it's just different. I mean, that's the influence he's had.
Well, I'm glad you shared that. I had a point in my life where I wanted to reach out to my father, who was a former NBA player, and I started working for ESPN. It was the year I retired, and I was going back and forth from Bristol, and I said I was going to do it, and I said I was going to do it, and unfortunately he died before the season ended. So I implore you to try to make sure that you do that as soon as possible. I think it'll give you a lot of solace and clarity in your head and your heart. For somebody like Kobe Bryant, he's a true icon. And Stephen A., you alluded to something that's really important. All of the cliches that you want from your son or daughter, or you want from an athlete, he lived those. He didn't party. He didn't drink. He was the first one in. He worked the hardest. He was the most disciplined. And he just so happened to be the most talented and hardworking. I think if there's a silhouette of Michael Jordan, the shadow has to be Kobe Bryant. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, well said, Jalen.
As somebody that covered him his entire career. And for him to shoot at that target when so many people easily shy away from it, it was always remarkable to me.
Well, the impact is interesting. I was in China this summer, and obviously no foreshadowing of any of this.
Yeah.
But just being in Hong Kong and Beijing both, and seeing people react to Kobe Bryant, retired already so if you were 15, you still didn't really ever see the best of Kobe, but he was so unbelievably beloved in Asia, and I'm sure that was just two places I hear the same thing about the Philippines, other parts of Asia, and the thing that's been fascinating this week to me, most fascinating, is the number of people who have said, I was a Celtic fan, I'm from New England, I didn't like Kobe as a player, and I have spent the last 3 days crying. I was a Pistons fan, I didn't like, whatever, fill in the blank for that thing. It might not even be basketball. Some people have said, I'm not even that big an NBA fan. Yeah. And so, I don't know, I've spent much of the time, and Stephen A. and I talked about this in Miami, just trying to figure out, what is it? What touched people beyond sport? I mean, you guys have a natural, understandable connection with him, and we did because we got to talk to him a lot. I mean, as it turns out, Stephen definitely more than me, but both of us a lot over like at least a 15-year period. What about the people behind us? What about LA? There's a connection. What about the people we saw in South Beach? How about the golfers wearing Kobe jerseys in Phoenix at the Waste Management event this weekend? I mean, Tony Finau, who grew up, I think, in Utah. He didn't say I was a Jazz fan. I had a Karl Malone jersey. It's a Kobe jersey he wore yesterday. And so it's just this connection that I don't think, maybe you guys sensed it already. There's no way that I was aware that this connection was worldwide. We often talk about global athletes, and it's an exaggeration. This is no exaggeration.
There's no exaggeration. I'll tell you something, too, and I want to get back to something that Paul and Jalen both alluded to, because understand, Kobe, as he grew and matured and just, relaxed himself into, a secondary life, understand when you talk about the fraternity with the players, that's paramount. That relationship with Kevin Garnett was real. Kobe loved Kevin Garnett, loved KG, and he loved a lot of players and talked to all of these guys, and they got their own special relationship. But there was a second fraternity, and that was the fraternity into the world of media, because he was telling stories. He won Academy Award and things of this nature. And I'm looking at Kobe Bryant and the times that I talked to him, and sometimes when, particularly if you're a member of the Fourth Estate, you're marveling at a particular athlete's greatness on the basketball court. What I found myself marveling at was this man's brilliance. He was trilingual at the very least, Italian, Spanish, and English. Learned Mandarin, learning German, and this dude's intellect was off the charts. And then he had obviously that tireless work ethic, and he was always after it, and he demanded he demanded that you fight off complacency. I have a godson, walked up to him bragging about having a 3.5 GPA. Kobe looked at him and said, okay, so explain to me why it ain't a 4.0. What's the problem?
There you go.
Where's the other 0.5, my mom passed away in 2017, in June of 2017, game 1. First call was from Shaquille O'Neal. Second call was 25 minutes later from Kobe Bryant. You look at stuff like that, and then you see his humanity and how he had grown and what he wanted to give. And you sensed and you really, really knew he had so much more to give, regardless of what he had already given. He felt like he owed the world something more. And that's why this is so sad, because at age 41, with his brilliance and his accomplishments, he had so much more to give and the potential to exceed what he had done over 20 years on the basketball court. So that's riveting in and of itself. And then 9 lives being lost. And, of course, his 13-year-old daughter included in that. It's just heartbreaking.
You mentioned that he had so much more to give, but I can guarantee you that he gave everything he had every 41 years that he was on this earth. And the gravitas that Kobe Bryant had never affected his ability to connect.